broadcasting.
Blog Talk USA.
1012, and it gives me 1,250 feet. Checks it again.
TWA announced the arrival of their flight from Los Angeles and Chicago.
And welcome everybody to this Monday, February 8th, 2016 program. I am the T of TNZ. He is the Z. That would be Richard Zombek. Richard, a happy Monday morning to you. I hope you had a nice weekend, my friend.
Eventful or moderately so.
Well, I guess all things in moderation. Isn't that supposed to be a good thing?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. For those that, of course, are not aware, I'm having some audio issues on my end this morning, so you may get a lot more Z than T today, but we're going to do our best to work our way through this. So anyway, hopefully everybody did have a great weekend. Lots going on in the world of politics. Of course, New Hampshire biting away at us. Tomorrow, the Republican debate over the weekend. Just your general thoughts on Saturday's charade parade, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's Circus, whatever you want to call it.
Well, the opening act was pretty good, with no one really knowing when they were supposed to be on stage, and I think that's been replayed on social media. It was better than Saturday Night Live could have done. Apparently, Ben Carson didn't hear cue. I couldn't go into. And then Donald Trump stood there with him. Now, here's the interesting thing too, right? Because Donald Trump was coming out, saw Ben Carson standing there, and didn't move himself. And the right-wing media is talking about how gracious he was, and I think you were telling me about that this morning.
Yeah, that it was so nice of Donald to stand there and wait for Ben Carson because there is no because. I don't know why it was so gracious for him to do that.
Right. What a polite and kind guy he was. I like the part where Jeb comes out and sees them both standing there and just goes, "All right then." He kind of gave him like this sucker's look, and walked out there with this big grin on his face. And I mean, that was the beginning of what was an interesting debate, let's call it. And of course, we had Marco Rubio repeating his. I find it interesting that most of what's going on, what was going on yesterday and today, was talking about Rubio and how Chris Christie basically won the debate by going after Rubio and calling him out. I mean, the left wing is loving it because, and we've been talking about this too, that Rubio is just very robotic, very canned, talks in speech parts, and right when Christie right after Christie had said that, he calling him out for that, Rubio went on, repeated the same thing 3 times during the interview. So,
well, interestingly, I heard this morning that he paid Frank Luntz, the linguistics master, $375,000 for that line.
Did he really?
Yeah.
For the line about Obama.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't get why. Well, I mean, and the thing is too is I posted this the night that I was watching the debate. I was live tweeting and on Facebook and stuff.
Yes, you were, and you were doing an incredible job, by the way. and it was they're all running against Obama. I mean, I don't understand. Every single one of them talk like they're running after Obama. Do they not know that there are other candidates in the demo? I mean, why aren't they bringing this up? And the whole line was about Obama, and the one that Rubio repeated several times was about Obama. And yeah, we're gonna get to that in a bit. Let me just, if you would, let me interject just very quickly here. We do have a guest coming up in a few minutes to talk a little bit about corporate pollution, and I think that's an important story to cover. We do have some audio, of course, that we're going to share, including Bernie Sanders' stint on Saturday Night Live on Saturday. Yeah, and I got to tell you, just as a brief side trip here, did you know he was going to be on? Because I didn't know until after the fact.
Yeah, no, there was a pretty big announcement throughout the day that he was going to be on. It was a cameo. I think he made 2 appearances, and
it was huge. It was
huge. And that's exactly what he said, right? It's going to be huge. And then he imitated.
You got to use the Y. It's huge.
I know. I have a hard time.
Well, you know what? You do a great Ben Carson. You do a fabulous Dick Cheney. You got to work on the Bernie Sanders, dude. You've got to do it for me.
I'll do what I can. I didn't realize I had turned into the performing monkey on this show.
By no means. Are you kidding me? Not only is it great comic relief, I think it adds flavor. Monkey? I would not think so. No, sir. Don't disintegrate yourself that way. No, I think real talent in that.
I think Larry David's impersonation of him was much better.
Well, you'll work on that. I have confidence in you. I have confidence in you.
It just kind of comes out. It's nothing I can really do on demand,
Well, listen, you have a talent. I'm just telling you, you've got a talent, and you need to develop it a little bit. That's all. Let's so that people that didn't have the benefit of what became an interesting sideshow during the debate on Saturday night. It sounded a little
I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him. See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're President of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person. They expect you to plow the snow. They expect you to get the schools open. And when the worst natural disaster in your state's history hits you, they expect you to rebuild their state, which is what I've done. None of that stuff happens on the floor of the United States Senate. It's a fine job. I'm glad you ran for it, but it does not prepare you for
Marco Rubio. He was the biggest target of the night. He had all the momentum going into this debate, but the other candidates did everything they could to derail him. And ABC's David Wright joins us from the debate hall with much more. Hi, David.
Hi, Paula. This was a lost opportunity at best for Marco Rubio after his strong showing in Iowa. His big moment to shine, and many would say that he choked. And it all started with David Muir's first question to Chris Christie.
I do want to ask Governor Christie. Governor Christie, you said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, when it comes to electing a first-term senator.
After that, Governor Chris Christie came out swinging at Senator Marco Rubio hard.
Sure. First, let's remember something. Every morning when a United States Senator wakes up, they think about what kind of speech can I give. Every morning when I wake up, I think about what kind of problem do I need to solve for the people who actually elected me.
Shot after shot.
That's not leadership, that's truancy.
Christie pummeled Rubio for more than 7 straight minutes.
Oh, so wait a second. Is now one of the skills you get as a United States Senator ESP also?
Chris, everybody,
I don't
you
think
said
it
you
is.
weren't going to...
Rubio punched back.
Chris, your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back.
And that's when Rubio got tangled up in his talking points.
Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing.
Christie caught Rubio putting that line on instant replay.
This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not
true.
There it is. He knows exactly what he's doing.
The memorized 25-second speech.
Oh, that's the reason
everybody.
why this
Even Rubio's fellow Floridian, Jeb Bush, seemed to jump in on Governor Chris Christie's side.
You learn this. You learn it by doing it. It's not to say, look, let's be clear. Marco Rubio is a gifted politician.
Tony?
Okay. Are we all back?
It looks like we are back. I want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we've had. Richard Zombeck will be back with us in just a minute. Just goes to show you that technology is not fallible or infallible, and fallible indeed. Our scheduled guest for today will be joining us tomorrow. I was able to connect with her while we were in our, I can't say that on air. Anyways, Z, welcome back. Apologize for that. It was all on my end. Nothing I could do about it. My internet went down, and well, when you do an internet-based show, that's a problem.
Well, I kept getting knocked out myself, so.
Oh, well, maybe it was systemic at some level, but it doesn't matter. We're here now, and that's all that matters.
That systemic kerfuffle.
Yeah. A systemic kerfuffle. And don't want to say that 3 times real fast, that's for sure. Anyway, our guest, Annalise Dobbelstein, will be with us tomorrow to talk about corporate pollution. It's a topic that matters a great deal to me, and as I know it does to you, Z, but she was gracious enough to understand that we were having some technical difficulties. And we will, if not tomorrow, we'll have her Wednesday, but we'll get it worked out. I'm not too terribly concerned about that. With all that said, let's go back, if we can, because I did want to spend a little time today, as I know you did, on the debate on Saturday. And it wasn't just Chris Christie going after Marco Rubio. It was really what they're calling the 3 governors, Kasich, Bush, and Christie. And they're saying, and I don't disagree with this, that what happens in New Hampshire tomorrow night is critical to them moving forward. There are a lot of scenarios involved here, but let's start with this idea that Marco Rubio, and we heard it in the brief audio that I played before our systemic kerfuffle, that Marco Rubio absolutely had an opportunity to score and absolutely didn't do that at all. In fact, I thought he embarrassed the hell out of himself.
Yeah, well, he did, and it's proof, Tony, that he doesn't have the chops to be president. And what was interesting was that it was governors going after him. Now Trump, landed his usual lines. But you had governors who are used to being in executive roles going after someone who is completely unqualified for an executive role and desperately wants that executive role. And so that dynamic, I think, played very well, and obviously not in Rubio's favor. But we're gonna see, what happens on Tuesday, tomorrow, when it really counts, right? When we're not talking about this weird arcane caucus process. We're talking about a real primary, and in a state that takes their primary vote very, very seriously and closely guards it, and is in general always a surprise. So Rubio may very well have come out as the quote-unquote winner. Which means what? You went from 3% to 5% in the polls. But, he did a very good showing in Iowa, obviously. And then in this last debate, he, as Donald Trump would put it, he got completely schlonged.
Yeah, there you go. And he did get completely schlonged. Interestingly, as Rubio was on with George Stephanopoulos yesterday morning, and again, I saw him on Morning Joe show this morning. Rubio is not backing away in any way, shape, or form on what he did. Now, I guess if I paid $375,000 for somebody to write me a 25-second soundbite, I'm going to hold on to it too. But let me just, if we can here, let me play a little bit of Rubio's defense.
We are not facing a president that doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Anyone who believes that Barack Obama isn't doing what he's doing on purpose doesn't understand what we're dealing with here.
Democrats already circulating that video from last night. Senator Marco Rubio joins us live right now. What went wrong?
Well, actually, I would pay them to keep running that clip because that's what I believe passionately. It's one of the reasons why I'm not running for re-election to the Senate and I'm running for president. This notion and this idea that somehow, this is an accident. Obamacare was not an accident. Dodd-Frank was not an accident. The deal with Iran was not an accident.
You're getting pounded for repeating that speech.
Well, look, we raised more money last night in the first hour of that debate than any other debate. As far as that message, I hope they keep running it, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's true. Barack Obama, yes, has he hired incompetent people to implement laws and run agencies? Absolutely. But when it comes to what he's trying to do to America, it's part of a plan. But he has said he wanted to change the country. He's doing it in a way that is robbing us of everything that makes us special. I'm going to keep saying that because that not only is it the truth, it is at the core of our campaign.
But even after Chris Christie called you out for what he called canned speeches, 25-second canned speeches, you repeated again. He says, there you go. Again, that was not a good moment for you, was it?
It's what I believe, and it's what I'm going to continue to say because it happens to be one of the main reasons why I am running. This is the greatest country in the history of mankind because of a certain set of principles. Barack Obama wants us to abandon those principles. I think he has spent 7 years putting in place policies that rip them from us, undermining the Constitution, undermining free enterprise, undermining our standing in the world, weakening America, apologizing for us on the global stage. The reason why I'm running is if we elect someone like that for the next 4 years, I think it may be too late for America to turn around.
Lindsey Graham, supporting Jeb Bush now, said the case for Marco Rubio is ready to be commander-in-chief took a hit tonight.
Well, Lindsey Graham supporting Jeb Bush. I don't expect that he's going to say positive things about me. Here's the truth. If everybody on that stage, no one on that stage last night has more experience or a better understanding of the national security issues before this country than I do. And that is the most important thing the president does. The president doesn't run the economy, but the president does have to be commander-in-chief. No one
Even though you've never been in an executive position.
No one on that stage has a better understanding or has shown better judgment on foreign policy than I have, period. And
all right, Z, where do we even begin with that statement? But that nobody on that stage, and there may even be a shred of truth to that, has more foreign policy experience than Marco Rubio. Doesn't that send a chill up and down your freaking spine?
Yeah, which really isn't true. But this is what I there's one little point in this that I want to address because Stephanopoulos, when he was quoting Christie, said, and then Christie said, "There you go," right? And this is important because Christie didn't say "there you go." Christie said, "There it is," right? "There you go" is what Reagan said
right.
when he was debating with Carter, right? There you go again. And as you know, I pay attention to words, and we've been talking about Rubio for some time now, and I've been calling him out on the exact same stuff, that he's canned, that he's rehearsed, that and then shortly thereafter, Chris Matthews on his show on Hardball pointed out that he called them speech parts, and I've called them speech parts too. But the reason I came to that conclusion and that observation, Tony, is because when I listen to someone speak and they interchange words, or they mix up they mix up a word when they're talking. People don't generally do that in natural conversation when they're thinking about what they're saying. They do that when they've rehearsed something that they're saying. So anytime someone, particularly in politics, mixes up their words or transposes their sentences, or the words within those sentences, that's an immediate cue for me to go, they've practiced this. They've practiced this, they've rehearsed it, and they're not executing it correctly.
Well, and there's some absolute truth to that statement as it relates to that situation. Let's back up a little bit, take a breath, and go back to the debate with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders on Thursday evening. Friday morning, of course, we were not live as I had a commitment that I had to go to. And certainly there was some contention between those two, and certainly some tension. But we're really seeing a tale of two very different, and I don't want to use the word temperament because that's the word that the Republicans are embracing all too handily right now. But there certainly is a difference between the way that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders disagree and the way the Republican candidates disagree. More of a, I don't even want to call it a civil tone, but certainly a more structured tone on the Democrats' side of the aisle. Although I've got to tell you that the words between Hillary and Bernie are getting pretty tough.
Well, yeah, at least on Hillary's side, I think a lot of what's going on right now, particularly with them trotting Bubba out, and some of the stuff that he's saying, some of the things that Hillary and Hillary's campaign is accusing Bernie Sanders of is not playing very well. A lot of the tactics that the Clinton campaign is using is not working in their favor with voters, and people are paying attention, particularly the younger voters. They don't like the way the tides are turning on this, and the way the Clintons are starting to play. They're using tactics from their old playbook, and it's not working this time. You say to someone that likes Bernie Sanders, well, but he's a socialist. And people go, but who cares? Yeah. Here's the deal, and this is what I don't understand about the Clinton campaign right now. She is not expected to win New Hampshire, and maybe it's important to the campaign that she whittles down that double-digit lead to some degree, depending on what poll you want to watch. And I did not know that 44% of New Hampshire voters were independent. That's a big number, and it's a gigantic number. And I have no idea which direction they lean in, if they're lean more right, left, or whatever. But if I'm gonna throw resources into a primary that I know I can't win, do I really want to play dirty? I don't think there's a lot of wisdom in this philosophy. Well, and that's the thing too. Now they're coming after him for Bernie Bros, and that would have played well in an environment that people don't pay attention, right? Well, all these sexist pigs are coming out for Bernie Sanders. Well, what is she going to do when one of her super PACs goes after Bernie Sanders? Say, well, I have nothing to do with that. Well, you were accusing the Bernie Bros of being, surrogates for Bernie. So, if your super PAC is playing dirty, then how is that not going to work? You know what I'm saying? I mean, It's like, think ahead, think of the long game. And how is this going to affect you later? Because people are paying attention. It was like Clinton during the debate saying, "How am I not part of the what she said, Bernie Sanders is accusing her of being part of the establishment, and her response was, "I'm a woman running for president. How is that part of the establishment?" Which really, when young women were asked about that comment, it didn't play well at all. And for that matter, neither did Madeleine Albright's comment or Gloria Steinem's comment over the week.
Actually, Madeleine Albright and Gloria Steinem, I think, did some permanent damage to the Clinton campaign with their, especially Madeleine Albright. There's a special place in hell for women that don't support women. I don't know that plays well anywhere in any demographic, Z. Right,
exactly. And here's the thing, right? Is Madeleine Albright? We can say, okay, she's getting on in years. She did say this, that there's a special place in hell. It was on a Starbucks coffee cup a few years ago. It's one of her taglines or whatever. And again, the media, even the left-wing media, is accusing her of saying there's a special place in hell for women who don't vote for Hillary Clinton, right? And putting words in people's mouths. It's bad enough that she said when she was stumping for Hillary, there's a special place in hell for women who don't support women. But, to completely misconstrue what she said because it makes a better headline is, again, a thing that I have a real problem with. Because then at least you have a discussion about what she said, what the possible and potential meaning was behind that, how the voters are taking that. And, it's this attitude, this constant attitude that the voters, the regular people, are morons and need to be spoon-fed this information. And then you've got, Bill Clinton saying that, Bernie Sanders is an idealist, and if you're going to have a revolution, and that he took... And here's the thing. They're coming after him for a vote on derivatives and stock trading. And they're going after him for having voted for this bill that deregulated a portion of the financial industry, and saying, how can you be a socialist? How can you stand on your record when you voted for this bill? But the fact of the matter is that bill was jammed in with an omnibus bill back in the 80s, or the 80s or 90s, to keep the government open again. Part of the budget bill was jammed in there, and Sanders had no choice but to vote for it. In fact, there were only 4 members of Congress that voted against that bill that was to fund, and this is another problem, another systemic problem in government, is that we can attach all these riders and bills and everything, and then it lays a trap for whoever's voting for something, because there's this other thing snuck in that is completely against and morally objectionable to them, but they vote for the overall bill because they want to see the other 15 or 20 things pass, and they end up voting for whatever, killing babies. And then their opponent can come out and go, well, look, he voted for killing babies. And this is exactly what happened. When in fact, the Clintons have absolutely no right in going after Bernie Sanders for his attitude and his stand on the financial system, when it was under the Clinton administration that Glass-Steagall was repealed. Even though there are a lot of excuses around that by the time it got to Clinton's desk, it was already Swiss cheese anyway. But the fact of the matter is that they have no business, and they know better. These are tactics that they're dirty tactics, and they're playing on the ignorance of a public that they think is still ill-informed, and they're not. They're not.
No, in fact, see, this is where you and I are going to disagree. The public is ill-informed, and they have every right to do it. It may not be morally or ethically conscionable, but they have every right to do it because it's the way that the game is normally played. And so I understand your abhorrence to that. I absolutely do. But the electorate is extremely ignorant, and they're only going to believe what they want to believe. And you and I both know that. Don't come on, you know better than that. See, you know that people, without listening to you, most people wouldn't understand. And in fact, the people that are listening to you right now had no idea that what he voted for was part of an omnibus package that he didn't have a choice but to vote for.
No. I get that, and yes, you and I are very much in agreement that as a whole, the public, the voting public is ignorant and ill-informed, but they're certainly more informed than they were, I would say, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and going back even further. Recently, in the last year and a half, I have seen, and even in the last 2 years, I have seen a much stronger involvement by people, particularly young people, in politics. Look, a good friend of mine from New Hampshire came down here over the weekend. One of his sons is a gymnast. He had a competition, and my friend came down with his daughter, and John and I ended up talking across the table, and my wife ended up talking to his daughter across the table. Now she's I don't know the exact age. I want to say 13 or something, but my wife was really impressed at how well informed this girl was, and how educated she was, and was able to talk about what was going on in politics, and actually could name some candidates that she liked, and not only that she liked, but why she liked them. Now, here's the difference, okay? Is that here's a 13-year-old girl talking about why she likes Kasich, or why she likes Bernie Sanders, or whoever she was talking about, and giving real rational thought to that, as opposed to someone in their 50s and 60s that says they like Donald Trump because he stirs the pot. Okay? I mean, that's the difference. Is that I'm seeing younger people. I'm seeing millennials. I'm seeing more and more people. I see it on Facebook, Tony. I see more and more people get involved than they ever did. Where I would be posting things and they'd be going, "Oh, come on, so what? Well, how is that even true?" And to recently actually watching and getting into pretty well informed conversations. Now, I'm not saying as a whole the electorate has increased its level of education and completely turned around, but I'm saying it's better than it was, and there are a lot more people talking about it than there were even when Obama was running for president.
Well, fundamentally, I don't disagree with that. So we know there's really no drama in the next beyond the actual day tomorrow in New Hampshire. Democrats will choose Bernie Sanders, and I think that's a done deal. On the Republican side, there's obviously a great deal of angst. Will the results in New Hampshire force some of the Republicans out of the field? Some are saying that the three governors, the governors three, are polling better there, that John Kasich may actually end up coming in number 2. Jeb Bush may outperform the polls. Again, the polls are on trial tomorrow as well, Z. And, there's, of course, a compelling case that can be made after watching the morning shows yesterday and doing my traditional reading in preparing for the program today, that there's really, unless somebody gets absolutely lambasted tomorrow, Carly Fiorina, there's really no reason for anybody to drop out on the Republican side of the aisle yet. Now, I don't, you and I are certainly in agreement that Carly Fiorina's ego will not allow her to walk away. And I have no idea why she continues to stay around, unless it is simply her ego. And I'm not trying to be rude. I don't get it. She's burning a lot of money. If she wants to waste that kind of money, send it to the people of Flint, Michigan. They can use it right now. But, this could actually painfully go on for weeks yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, and it will. I mean, I don't really see, aside from Ben Carson, if there really anyone that, there are plenty that should drop out. But the thing is, too, is that everyone's still kind of waiting for Trump to implode and for Cruz to be too radical. I mean, he just said today in New Hampshire that he was addressing this idea of women in the draft, and said that it was a crazy idea to draft women. There's not a lot of, he didn't give a lot of reason, but I'm sure by the end of the day, he's going to have plenty of reasons why he thinks women shouldn't be drafted. So, I'm going to keep an eye on that and see what he has to say about that. But, judging from the difficulty I had when you surprised me with that question last week, I can't imagine that he's going to have a good answer. So there is no good answer to that question.
No, I would agree. There is no good answer to that question. We have 9 minutes left. Saturday Night Live did us all a favor. Not only those of us that do radio, those of us that enjoy politics, and certainly those of us that enjoy Bernie Sanders and Larry David, who I happen to adore. Let's just take a listen to what happened on Saturday Night Live.
What's that? Women and children first! Really? Yes, really! Shouldn't it just be whoever's closest? Load the rations! Tie them to the post! Burn the women and children! Save their lives! And let's not forget about the men's lives! Wait for That's a kid! He's more of a man than I am! He's got a happy child! Hold it steady! Hold fast the girders! Check his pants! Check for pubes! No! We are absolutely not doing that! You're gonna let me drown, but you won't just do a simple pubes check? Help Madam Donovan onto the lifeboat! Her! What are you shaving her for? She's a threat to all of us! Have you gone through menopause, ma'am?
That's none of your business!
Oh, that answers my question. Sharks are going to be following up for miles if you catch me drift. You suck, sir! Are you kidding me? That's not a kid. That's a midget, I can tell. Not cool! I can say it, it's olden times. All right, men, make sure every woman and child has a life vest. Oh, well, okay. I hate to pull this, but my father is rich. I come from a wealthy family. Technically, my life is worth more than all of yours put together, especially these women and midgets. So if it's all the same to you, I'm gonna pop down in that lifeboat. Hold on, wait a second. Of the 1% getting this preferential treatment. Enough is enough. We need to unite and work together if we're all going to get through this. Sounds like socialism to me. Democratic socialism. What's the difference? Huge difference. Huge? Huge. Huge with a Y, eh? Who are you? I am Bernie Sanders Witzke. But we're going to change it when we get to America so it doesn't sound quite so Jewish. Yeah, that'll trick 'em. Hold on, everyone! I've got great news! What we crossed into was Liberty Island! We're in New York! Everyone off the boat! Yeah! Look at that! Oh, man, not bad! Share a cab? I think we've talked enough.
That's great. Share a cab? I think we've talked enough.
Yeah.
And you were worried about calling him a New York Jew. I think that settles. I think make sure your mother sees that. I think that settles that argument.
A socialist Jew. I got a phone call.
Socialist Jew. Yeah.
I got a phone call about that. That it was shocking. You're helping the other side. You can't talk about them like that. You're gonna help the other side. And I don't really quite know what that means, but apparently it was very shocking to make such a comment and call him a socialist Jew. And if you remember, my comment was in Iowa, basically the evangelical capital of the Bible Belt, and a socialist Jew is getting the attention that he is was just a huge surprise. But anyway, you and I knew how it meant, and I also, we got an email from someone. Let me just read it real quick, okay? It says, "I love your show. Please try and keep the Clinton negative critiques down to a dull roar." Come on, men, we're better than this. I give up so many shows because it's distressing. Just as a comment, first of all, no, we're not going to keep it down. If Bernie Sanders does something ludicrous, I'm going to call him out on that too. I'm not behind a candidate no matter what. I'm not a football fan. I don't root for my team no matter what they do, no matter how many women they beat or rape or dogs they want to put in a fight. I call people out for doing stupid things, and I'm not going to hold back just because it's Hillary Clinton. So,
all right, well, that's fair. Listen, I wanted to make a quick point before we have to get out of here today. On Saturday afternoon, or actually Saturday morning, I emceed an event here in the metropolitan Detroit area, standing room only. It was great. It was about the New Deal, and it was really a great dialogue, great exercise at the end. But as I shared with you when I talked to you on Saturday late afternoon, the vast majority of the standing room only crowd that was there were pro-Bernie. Many of them, 15, 20 people wearing Democratic Socialists of America T-shirts. It was very, very interesting. I did have a chance to talk to some of the folks after the fact, and unfortunately it ran a little late, so a lot of people took off right away. But those that I were able to talk to, Z, and I, asked them, if indeed Hillary were the nominee, are they going to support her? And every one of them said, of course. I got a couple, yes, I'll hold my nose and do it. Others were, no, of course we will. But, the thought of having Bernie Sanders as president does all kinds of wonderful things. I will say that the only negative undertone, and you actually brought this up last week, is the only reason I bring it up, is with foreign policy. And in fact, there's a reverend in the crowd on Saturday morning that gave me a piece of paper, a position paper that he has written that he was hoping I could get to the Sanders campaign because he doesn't appreciate the way that Bernie Sanders dialogues on foreign policy. Of course, I have no access to the campaign, but I appreciated him thinking I actually did. This is, again, a discussion that will continue to unfold. But you have to admit, from where we sit, it's pretty exciting to do what we do, Z.
Yeah, and quick question, not that we have time to answer it, but what foreign policy experience did Obama have, or for that matter, St. Reagan, or any of these guys, comparatively speaking? I mean, here's the thing: is Hillary Clinton obviously, hands down, has the best foreign policy experience of anyone running today, and probably anyone who has run for the last decade. So it's really kind of a moot argument. And we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. That's all right. How can people find all the good stuff on TNZ Talk, Richard Zombeck?
They can find everything. That includes Twitter, archives, Facebook links, everything you'll ever need to follow, friend, and listen to us on tnztalk.com.
All right. That's going to have to do it for us today. Apologies for the technical difficulties, and maybe it wasn't just on my end, because I got a couple emails from people that would lead me to believe that maybe it was a little more systemic than I realized. Doesn't matter. We got it in. That's the important thing. We'll be back on Tuesday. I'm Tony Trupiano for Richard Zombeck and everybody at Blog Talk USA. And as always, we ask that you be well.